Don't flop the Fabian Fusion. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and I have the Fusion event calendar here. So I wanted to make a quick video talking about how you can plan to make sure that you do this Fusion. Now, I do want to compliment Raid because there's already one thing that they have done better than they have honestly done in the past several Fusions, honestly, for about the past 2 years at least, in that they have done the Dragon Tournament and the Dungeon Diver event at the same time. Traditionally, for some strange reason, they have insisted on having the Dungeon Divers tournament happen a day after they initially start a Dragon Tournament and possibly a Champion Training event. So this means that if you are going to be doing Champion Training and Dragon Tournament stuff, you can get Dungeon Divers points as well, which means you can go into your heart's content to either or both of those without really worrying. So that is absolutely amazing. So let's go break down some of the important events that we're going to need to worry about. So first of all, we have the Summon Rush right here. So you'll see there's actually two different sects of the Summon Rush marked here. This is the same Summon Rush. I actually had somebody ask me about this on YouTube. This is not two different Summon Rushes. This is just the first level is this Summon Rush. The second level is this Summon Rush. And as it is with these fusions, if it's a Summon Rush first, then it will be a Void Epic. If it is not a Summon Rush first, then it will be a Void Rare. They really have unfortunately done a very good job of making sure that you can't pull these champions early if you're pulling the best shards to get that particular champion. Now, if you're going to be pulling some Voids for the Summon Rush, you've got a chance of getting this Lightward Cylindra. But as far as how many shards you're going to need for this, well, you're generally going to need 6 Sacreds. So let's see if I can draw on here. 6 Sacreds right there. That's an S. That's fine. And then you're probably going to be closer to 10 Sacreds here if you want to get the extra epic. I recommend going for the extra epic if you've got 10 Sacreds or enough shards to get those points, because with getting both that extra rare and of course the epic as well, you can skip 4 other events. So if you're worried about doing the Champion Chase tournament, you can skip that as one of the 4 events you can get for the epic. So I really, really recommend doing it when it's this type of event. It also means you get a bit of a buffer in case you miss 1 or 2 of the events even. You know, you can still kind of plan, I missed 2 of them. I know I need to make at least 2 more of these things. Or worst case scenario, you find you accidentally missed more than 4. Well, then you know you have to actually do one of these final tournaments at the end. So that's the big summoning event. And then finally, we do have the Champion Chase tournament right here. So Champion Chase tournament, I'm pretty sure is going to be 2x Ancients, which is great. That is going to be very helpful for like my free-to-play account. And that's a great event to be pulling for Champion Chase points. It's not quite as good as a 2x Void, but that's because a 2x Void is great for pulling rare champions even, are worth a lot more points on Voids than they are in the Champion Chase than they are for getting rares from Ancient Shards. That said, you're probably going to want 50-ish Ancients is probably a good guesstimate for that if you're only going to be doing it with pulling Ancients. If you're going to be doing it with other champions as well, then keep in mind it's 250 for an epic, 500 points for a legendary, and it's an additional 100 points on either of those for a void. Actually, I believe it's an extra 150 for a legendary void. So it's 650 for a legendary void, 350 for an epic champion. So you can do an awful lot in Champ Chase without pulling a single shard if you plan it right. So do be aware of that. And it may be the case of where that summoning event is something you don't have to summon a lot of champions with, especially if you did the Esme fusion. You might be able to just pull Esme and get yourself most of the way there. Just keep in mind, you're probably going to need about 25,000 points there. Not 25,000, that'd be gross. 2,500 points. So you're going to need to get, a decent number of champions. That's why I suggest about 50 Ancients is probably a good, if you're going to pull level to get for that. There's a lot of RNG involved in that, obviously, so depending on what you pull, it could make that a lot easier, could make it a lot harder. 50 is generally fairly safe to get you darn close to it, and then maybe you have to use some mystery shards to get all the rest of the way there. So as far as things that people tend to worry about, we do have the Dungeon Diver event here. That's always a big one. We have another Dungeon Divers event here, and then we have another final Dungeon Divers event here. So the first one has champion training and dragon only, although it does actually extend. The champion training extends an extra day, but the Dungeon Divers does not. So the good news is that Dungeon Divers is going to be happening during CVC, when a lot of people like to run Spider for a bunch of CVC points. So once you've done the Dragon event, if you don't want to run any more Dragon, you can certainly run Spider for a bunch of points. Me, I actually have a couple of teams to farm Spider, so with food, so I can actually farm Spider with food and do some Dungeon Divers and champion training, very efficient with the energy if I'm going to do that. I might be able to do most of the champion training in the tavern on most of my accounts. I will not be able to do that on my free-to-play, so my free-to-play is going to be challenged by this first champion training event, but that's fine. That's kind of why I wanted to do it on the free-to-play. I think it's going to be a fun challenge to see how far I can get on that in this fusion. Certain things that I know people are worried about. We do have the gear enhancement events. So we got one of them right here. We've got another one right here, and we have a third one right here. So you're going to want somewhere between 40 to 60 million silver overall over all three of those. But keep in mind, you can earn them in the different Dungeon Divers tournaments. You can earn silver that way. And you can certainly find ways to mess with exactly how much silver you're going to need. It's going to be a little bit about how lucky you get as well. So you don't necessarily need to have 60 million silver going into this event. If you've got 20 to 30 million silver, you're probably going to be fine with the rest of the silver you're going to find throughout there. Just do be prepared to maybe do a bit of a gear cleanse on your account to get all that extra silver for that gear enhancement event. We do have the Ice Golem tournament after the Dragon. Then we go on to Spider tournament, and then finally the Fire Knight tournament here as well. So if we look here, we'll see the Dungeon Divers event. This last Dungeon Divers event overlaps part of the Fire Knight tournament. So as much as I compliment them for learning here for this champion training, it does not overlap here, so this Fire Knight is all by itself, which is definitely a little frustrating. In fact, the Spider one is basically almost entirely out of a Dungeon Divers event, because the Dungeon Divers event here should end before this Spider starts in the first place. So honestly, they have made these Dungeon Divers event extremely difficult and extremely taxing. It seems to be what Polarium's game plan is right now, and I think it's because people are not liking to run dungeons, because dungeons have definitely been power crept. So do be aware of when you're going to do those Dungeon Divers events, and just keep an eye out for the Dragon tournament, keep an eye out for the Ice Golem tournament, keep an eye out for the Spider tournament, and keep an eye out for the Fire Knight tournament. Now, you can certainly do champion training with these Dungeon Divers events, so that is an option here as well, since but there's not a champion training tournament at the end of this Dungeon Divers event. So this is literally a Dungeon Divers event without another accompanying event for some of it, as well as this one is kind of missing some of the event with it as well. There is champion training overlapping some of this, but not all of that, so do be aware. Finally, we have the easiest ones, which are usually ones I don't recommend skipping. We have the Classic Arena tournaments. Classic Arena tournaments are great. They are usually pretty easy points right there. I didn't mean to scratch that out, but that's fine. So just be aware of when those are and make sure you don't miss them. It looks like they're going to be over the weekend. So it's going to start on, they start on, is that Saturday? Yeah, it starts on Saturday and runs through Tuesday. So you will have, obviously Sunday night can sometimes be rough for some people for the Classic Arena, but you'll have all day Monday to continue to farm some Classic Arena on this one. And then on this one as well, you'll have the same thing. And then finally, you'll just have an extra day for the gear enhancement as well. My plan is generally to, at least on my main, on my alt, I'm going to try to get the extra epic. On the free-to-play, we'll see if I have enough shards to get the extra epic, because if I do, it's going to make this much more manageable, because then I can skip both Dungeon Divers from then on. But I'm not skipping the first Dungeon Divers if I can avoid it on any of the accounts, just to make sure that I can deal with the Summon Rush. And that's my recommendation too. If you're going to start skipping events, don't skip anything early unless you absolutely have to. Aim to skip stuff later so you know you've got what you need locked in. And keep in mind, the only way you can skip any events is if you finish the Summon Rush, or if you get lucky and happen to pull the rare, maybe through a mystery shard, very likely at some point for some people, and then If you pull Ancients, then you might get a chance to pull them as well. So there is a chance you might be able to pull a Hide Stitcher in this Champion Chase tournament here as well. So if the Champion Chase tournament is one of the first things you do, if you get that done on Friday, if you pull a bunch of Ancients, you pull 60 Ancients, there's a shot you may not need to do this Dungeon Diver event here anyway, because you might pull a Hide Stitcher or two in that event. So do be aware there's a chance you might be able to opt out of that last Dungeon Diver or that last gear enhancement by getting lucky in that 2x Ancients. And in this case, getting lucky pulling a rare, actually a really good option. So hopefully that provides you with a bit of a plan. Just kind of watch where you're going. I do have this calendar posted on my YouTube. I have this posted as well on my Discord. So if you want to find it, you can check it out in Discord, or you can check it out on my community page on my YouTube channel. So definitely appreciate you guys hanging out here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Let me know down below. Are you going for Fabian? Are you passing on him? And why are you going for him or passing him? I'm actually kind of interested, especially for the people that are deciding to pass on him. I'm curious, what's your rationale for passing on him? So let me know. Appreciate you guys. You are all awesome. I will talk to you later. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. And until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.